Hi everyone, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here with a Atomic Pop Chat review. I was dropping these last week, various different reviews, so a bit shorter format than I normally do. They seem to be received quite well, so I thought, and it was for reasons because I just hadn't been well. I'm almost better, but not quite there yet. So I thought I'd stick with the format because it seems to be going down quite well, a bit more bite-sized chunks. So today I wanted to talk about a beautiful documentary, the super/man Christopher Reeve story. It's currently released in selected theatres across the country, and then we'll be going on to VOD. It's currently on VOD on Prime in the States, so whether we'll get it on Prime here, I'm not sure. But hopefully that'll be on VOD soon. It's actually quite sad that it's not in all cinemas because this is absolutely worth a watch. It's so well put together, and I think it's more than just the Christopher Reeve story. It's probably more Christopher Reeve and his family. He's also late wife Dana. So obviously the Reeve family has been heavily involved in putting this together. There's interviews from them, from his 3 children and his ex-wife, and obviously there's historical footage from Richard Donner, who obviously tragically we've also lost now, and various people that he's worked with over the years. So it starts off with his son Will talking about his dad, and unfortunately, Christopher Reeve passed away when he was still very young. I think about 8 years old, something like that. And the sort of the repercussions of his father's accident, and then going on to lose his mother very soon after. So I think I loved about this documentary is it's very heartwarming, but also incredibly authentic, I think is the best way to describe it. His children are very candid about their relationship with their father and how it sort of changed over time and results of the accident. So I think it's very sort of warts and all that Christopher Reeve wasn't a perfect guy. I mean, he said he wasn't a bad guy, but that he had flaws like everybody else, and I think it's really refreshing to see something so candid. It's incredibly moving documentary, as I imagine you know by the source material. So for anybody that doesn't know, and I can't believe nobody does, but obviously Christopher Reeve was best known for playing Superman in the Richard Donner films. Obviously Superman 1 came out I think in 1977, and I still remember being taken to the cinema to see that. And Superman 2, I think I saw Superman 3 in the cinema as well. Superman 4, I'm not sure anybody watched, but that's a different story. But it was absolutely mind-blowing, at the time when it came out. We just sort of had Star Wars with all these revolutionary effects, and we'd just never seen anything like it. And then you had Superman. I think that the whole tagline was like, "You'll believe a man can fly," and it was just, for the time, I mean, they still stand up pretty well now. I mean, obviously you can see when he's on a blue screen these days, but even still, when he's doing the sort of initial kind of standing takeoff stuff and sort of flying across the Fortress of Solitude and things like that, it still really stands up. It's impressive stuff. So so he's an absolutely integral part of my childhood, and a lot of people who grew up in the sort of 70s and the 80s. And it really tells the story right from tragically in the 90s. So he was a big, as you can imagine, very athletic. He played tennis, he'd done sailing, horse riding, you name it, he pretty much done the sport, I guess. And he was competing in a competition, a horse jumping competition, and the horse just stopped before taking the jump. He went straight over the top, and unfortunately just landed sort of on his head effectively. So as I go on to explain, obviously he's a big guy, like 250 pounds, all that pressure straight on his neck, and he broke his neck and ended up quadriplegic. So I think there's always that ultimate irony of this amazingly sort of physical actor who played Superman, the man that's indestructible, ends up being I think it's quadriplegic or quadriplegic, I think it might be, but basically he can't move from the neck down. So it kind of starts with his son Will talking about his dad, and this combination of sort of the sort of talking heads, but also covering his very early career. And again there's like interviews and commentary from Christopher Reeve, because obviously he made several documentaries over the years and interviews, etc. So it starts when he was at Juilliard with Robin Williams, and how Robin Williams was like his best friend because they roomed together and they're a great source of comfort to each other. Obviously both had the issues over the years, and we also tragically lost Robin Williams as well. So it starts off, it sort of charts his career, his rise to fame, meeting his first wife here in the UK while filming Superman. And they had 2 children together, and they're also interviewed in this, and talking about their relationship with their dad, because obviously they pretty much stayed in the UK with their mum after the marriage broke down. And sort of backwards and forwards between the UK and the US. So he goes on to talk about, say, his film career, making Superman, and then obviously the tragedy of the accident, and then the sort of remaining of it is like his sheer belief and will that he could walk again. And he set up the Christopher Reeve Foundation about finding ways through stem cell to regenerate nerve endings and things like that, to hopefully one day that people could walk again. And there was some flack like there is these days, that obviously disabled people kind of took a bit of umbrage to that. And I think it's one of those things that if there's the cure there, no one's asking you to take it, right? If you're happy being who you are, then don't take it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're still not there, but there are, and as the documentary goes on to say, there are people walking today who don't necessarily have his condition, but there are people walking today who wouldn't have been without the research, without the foundation. So it goes on through meeting his second wife Dana, and then them having their son Will, and just talking about all the difficulties and obviously the adjustments they had to make. And I mean, Dana Reeve just came across as an absolutely amazing lady. Obviously she had to give up her career to become full-time carer. She never gave up on him. She was always there for him. And tragically, 18 months after Christopher Reeve died, she also died. She was diagnosed with sort of stage 4 lung cancer. Never smoked, incredibly fit woman. And again, it sort of, so it became the Christopher Reeve and Dana Foundation. So in some ways, it's a difficult watch, because obviously this is very. A lot of times it's a very light-hearted documentary. Other times, obviously, it's very sad, and especially hearing from his children who have lost. His son Will has lost both his parents. His children from his first marriage lost their dad. But it does go on to say, like, obviously, actually how their relationships improved with their father after the accident, and it's very you have to have a heart stone to get through this whole documentary without at least shedding a tear or having a lump in your throat. But it's so beautifully made. Like I say, it's warts and all, very candid. The ups, the downs, the backlash around Christopher Reeve trying to find a cure for this. Very, very candid, so well put together. I think anybody who's a fan of Christopher Reeve, obviously it's a no-brainer. But I just think if you're genuinely interested in an amazing man who went through something terrible, and just looking at the sheer strength of the human will, and things like that, I'd recommend it. You don't have to be a fan of superhero films. Obviously, Christopher Reeve was in other things as well. But I think it's sort of a bit of cinematic history. It's an absolute much. So I do encourage you to go see this documentary. Absolutely blew me away. Again, it's almost like the perfect length. The whole thing just has been beautifully put together. Very heartwarming, heartbreaking, and authentic. I think that's the key thing about this documentary, is it's really, really authentic. So if you get the opportunity to go see it in the cinema, please do. Hopefully they will be out on VOD soon, but definitely try and see this documentary, especially if you are sort of Christopher Reeve superhero fan, and even if you're not, it's a sort of a humanitarian story. It's absolutely fantastic. So I think this is like probably 10 out of 10. There's not many things I give a 10 out of 10 to. This is absolutely one of them. So have you seen it? I'd love to know your thoughts if you have had the opportunity to go see it. What did you think? And if there's any other documentaries that you'd like me to watch and review, I'm happy to do so. So drop those in the chat. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe. I know it's cheesy, but you all have to say it. The more it's out there, obviously, the more traction the channel gets. So thank you as ever for your support on this channel. There's been a bit of traction as I've been sort of dropping a few more short bits over the last week or so. So yeah, watch out. There's going to be some Atomic Pop coming, just sort of generally catch up with what's been going on in the pop culture the last week or so, because everything's just got into meltdown. And reviews of, we've had Cobra Kai season 6 part 2 drop, and the first episode of June Prophecy. So keep an eye out for those this week, and I will be back soon. So you take care now. Bye-bye.